obviously there is going to be spoilers. I wanted to cover this in the first video that I made about the first episode, but I wanted to keep that brief, mostly just because I wanted whoever is gonna watch that video to direct you at the show because I had a good feeling about it. The second episode came out today, and before I will get into the actual video, I just wanted to point out that in the world today, right, when uh, anybody can make an adaptation, especially when it comes to video games, uh, and they can basically just slack, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't do anything much for the communities, right? It's just busy work. It's just a write-off. Uh, this show is not only that it's not bad, but it's definitely it's definitely obvious in this show that Neil Druckmann, who wrote for the video game, is also directing this show, and it just shows so much, and it's just really it's just so nice to see. It's such a nice sight that you wouldn't even think is possible these days. So I just wanted to quickly say that, not like a review or anything like that, but more of a just so glad that this show and this story got the proper introduction, the proper way of showing it. I can't speak for anybody who watches the show and doesn't play games, or maybe somebody who plays the games but doesn't really doesn't love adaptations when it comes to movies, when it comes to shows. Uh, you know, I would say personally there is obvious intersection between people who like shows like Walking Dead or something like that, and people who like video games and like to play video games like Last of Us. There's obviously gonna be a lot of people, that do both, and I'm one of them. But just to say that, God, like I just really like the show. I just really like how it's done, and I'm so glad. I'm just so glad that it's being taken really seriously, and it's doing justice to everything at the same time. It's just really nice to see. So with that out of the way, with all of that, all of that complimentary, stuff, I just wanted to cover the both of the episodes, uh, but specifically things that are changed in the script when it comes to the story. I remember the first game. I played the story of the first game maybe 4 or 5 times. I'm not really sure at this point because it's still like a long time ago. But I did play the first game specifically. I played a lot. I remember that. So I do remember the story. The structure I'm not super sure on, but there are changes in this show. There are very specific changes in this show that were not in the game, that were not, specific extra scenes or adjustments that I wanted to point out today. So the first thing that that we were all greeted to, basically, when you start watching the show, the very first thing, very fitting, by the way, the very first thing that you get in the show is a scene where we talk, some kind of talk show in a sense. We talk about virus versus fungi, and how does that work? How the threats of both things, uh, and I think that was like one of the best introductions for the show, or for the story, for the idea of the story, uh, that you could ask for if there is anybody out there who is criticizing it. uh, you know that's your opinion, I guess, but you are wrong. This is like one of the best ways they could have done it. I really don't see better way to do it, honestly. I don't. So in that scene we get a person who is talking about how specific. I don't know the name of the specific thing of it's supposed to be a fungus, I think. That's obviously from the game. That's the whole idea. And What I really liked about this explanation, this is maybe less of a change and more of a, like additional detail that has made me really like the show or really like the start of it. Uh, so in this, what happens is that they have some sort of debate, right? And one person is like, "Oh, viruses will end the civilization," which is really appropriate for today, right? Because we have survived the pandemic, or rather maybe not survived as much as like lived through. I think there's a lot of other viruses that can happen. Even COVID is not exactly over. It's just that we have adjusted to it. So when it comes to global pandemic, I think a lot of people, especially today, think virus, and that's what the show covers. Literally, the first minute of the show covers that, and that's the one guy, and the other guy is like, "Well, I am worried about fungus," and everybody laughs, right? And then he goes on to say, "We don't have anything to treat a fungus inside, you know, anything. If it was able to survive in a human body, which is not able, uh, it would not be treatable. There is no way to cure it. You can only basically only execute the, the host." Uh, and like I said, to that argument comes, well, fungus can survive in humans. And I don't know, maybe this is just me, right? Maybe I'm just easy, I don't know. But to me, this straight up gave me like actual just chills in a way. Maybe not chills is not the right word, but I would say like the way the scene is made, just the dialogue and everything is just so good that I was actually unironically a little bit scared of it. Like I'm not kidding. Like I got real life scared of the premise, which is insane. Like I'm so blown away by this, right? So the argument is, right, that the fungus can survive in a human body, so this entire conversation is, pointless. And the guy goes, "That's right, but what if the fungus, right? What if a fungi would have to adjust, evolve, right? What if the planet started warming up so much that the species of the fungus would have to adjust its own, life, because that's what everything does on the planet is they evolve, they adjust to things. So what if this one specifically adjusted to the warmer temperature of the planet? Then it would probably be able to survive in a human body." And I'm not a biologist. I have no idea if this is bullshit or if it's feasible. I have no clue. But to somebody who is like that, to somebody that doesn't have, doctorate or whatever, and is not like, doesn't have the knowledge, to somebody like that, like a casual person, that was just such a it was such a great scene to like. I have legitimately never got like uh, caught out, I guess. It was just I didn't expect the show to like pull me in, like by my shirt, pull in basically, and say, "Motherfucker, you think this is a game? You think this is a story? It's fucking real. It can happen. It didn't yet, but it could." Uh, and that's, like I said, it's not exactly a difference. It's not exactly a change to the story, but the game never actually tells you the real kicker of this fungus that spreads in the world, uh, is that, hey, why would the fungus be able to survive in a human body when it can't now? The simple answer is global warming. And I don't know, again, just say it again, maybe I'm dumb and easy person to please, which by the way, it's really not true for almost nothing, but maybe I'm biased when it comes to this. It's possible, I don't know. But from what I've seen, that just got me really good. That was just so, it was so nice to feel that, because it was such a long time since a show made me feel like this. Like I was at a loss for words. Obviously I could Google up stuff, right? And but like that's not what this is about. So that was the first scene that I wanted to talk about that I felt like was really so well executed, and I think uh, that it really shows that the person who made Chernobyl also is, you know, contributing and co-writing this show. It really shows. Uh, so okay, so let's talk about the second scene in this in the first episode. There's actually one right at the start I just covered, and one at the end that I want to talk about. There is a lot of stuff, obviously, in the middle, but I don't think, like, if you watch the show or play the game, there's almost, like, almost, I say almost, no difference between playing the game and actually watching the show. A lot of the show is, all, even with the dialogue, is one-to-one recreation of the game. Obviously, there's gonna be some differences, like it's not 100%, but I'm just saying, like, covering all of that is pretty useless if you play the games, and if you didn't, just watch the show. Like, I'm not gonna cover everything, but the start was this show, was this scene that I wanted to talk about that, and now the end. Now how this ends is different from the game also, uh, and that is when Joel, Ellie, and Tess are trying to escape from the quarantine zone, right? And that, you know, that happens almost the same way in the game, except for when they get caught, right? Like in the game, and they get scanned. We have a scene where he aims like he's about to shoot. I don't know if it was all of them or just LD. I can't remember that. But basically, you know, the show, the way it starts is that Joel loses his daughter, right? And we have the same thing in the game, but this time the soldier, like, kind of looks the same. The scene is very similar. We even get like a super small flashback. So just so you understand, that Joel, like, you know, doesn't, like, subconsciously doesn't want that part, like, to repeat, right? So that soldier, by the way, is like his friend, right? Like, he does some kind of deal with him at some point in the show, and he just launches at him and starts, like, beating him. In the second episode, we learned that apparently to death, which it didn't look like it to me, that, like, he would actually punch him to death there, but apparently he did. Um, and I just want to say that in the game, the fact that, like, you know, that the whole scene of him losing his daughter to the soldier is basically the same. But we never really get anything out of that, except, you know, obviously a tragic origin or whatever. But we don't really get anything else from the game. In the game, we don't really get anything more than just, oh, there was a scene where the soldier shoots at them. But in the show, we literally get like a symmetry of this, where, you know, Joel sees the soldier about to shoot them or shoot her, and he just loses his shit, which is very understandable of the character. And I think it's more so hard hitting when you realize that that guy, like, you know, they did like a trades together. He even tells Joel in the show, you know, take care, right, don't die or whatever. So all of this just makes for, like, just a better ending to the episode. But moreover, like, we don't get this type of, like, we don't get this depth from the game story. So that was just something I appreciated. I felt that is definitely a change and definitely a welcome one. Yeah, that is the end of the first episode. Um, let's move on to the second episode, where again, I don't know, this is a strange thing for me because I don't usually do it, but again, at the start of the second episode, we get a scene that I can only imagine is worked through with the director of Chernobyl, because it has the exact same type of vibes, and it's really cool to see. Uh, so we get, you know, some kind of scientist, a woman scientist, who is called by police to investigate. You know, this is like before the virus actually starts spreading, or not virus, the fungus starts spreading. You know, so it's like in the past. It's at the very start of it, and they call her, so she examines a body that has the fungus in it, right? And one thing that I just was back and forth on about if I like it or don't, or is it normal, is it not normal. Uh, so she finds out the fungus is in there and she is just dumbfounded, right? Because, oh well, fungus doesn't survive in humans, but oh, this one does. So it's like a big of a shock. By the way, huge props to the actor or actress. All of the acting in this show is just outstanding, like throughout. There's not one person that fucks up anything, which is insane too, but just wanted to say that quickly. She nails absolutely just everything, every movement, all of it, because it's much more than just saying lines or having facial expressions. It's just like how your body behaves when you are reacting. That's what's acting really about. And so everybody nails that in this show. It's great to see, but HBO was always about that. So yeah. So she reacts, to to her finding out that the fungus, that this is happening, because the policeman even tells her like, oh yeah, we had like a worker in the field or whatever that started being aggressive, started biting other people. We had to execute these people. Now 14 workers are missing, and when she hears that there's so many infected that we don't know about, that we don't know where they are, she gets like super like frightened levels that, like, I don't know. I just think it's a really good actress. It's really well acted out. I don't know what else to say about that. You would have to see it. I can't really show it to you now, but if you want to see what I mean, then watch the show. She just acts terrified, like beyond like anything, right? And she explains him that there is just no way to make a cure for something like this, and she then tells him like he asks her, how, so what do we do, how do we handle it, and she just says, just bomb the city, just bomb the people, bomb the city, try to contain this. And that's how the introduction ends, right? And it's the intro. And again, I will just repeat myself at this point, but she acted that superbly well. It's in the different language. It's not in English. There's English subtitles. I don't know what language is it. I forgot, but didn't matter at all. Just like, if anything, obviously, it helped the performance that it's in different language. It's like more authentic that way. But just so like, just again, like, just chills. Just like, it's so well done. It's just like you wouldn't expect it, I guess, from that's what I was on fence about a little bit. It was like this early, like, when people don't know about it yet practically, and this is like the very first time, at least for this country, to encounter this. You wouldn't think like somebody of us of science, right? Somebody with like knowledge would just say, just bomb the city. Like, you would expect that from like some dumbass, soldier, military person. So the fact that like she's very professional, very like calm person, which like shows in the intro, and then she just drops that, like, just bomb the city, is just, it's very, like, it's very impactful to go from a person that's like calm and collected to like so terrified that she would bomb innocent people to prevent something. And that's what I mean. It's like, that's what they obviously wanted the scene to communicate, is that's where we are at. People were this fucking afraid even before the actual pandemic happened even. And so like, yeah, just like superbly well done, just so outstanding to me, at least, as as a big fan of the game, or both the games. This was just, it's just so satisfying to watch something made with so much care, which this obviously was. So, I'm thinking right now what else to say about the second episode. There is more to talk about, obviously. If you played the game, episode 1, episode 2, it all plays out at the same pacing, practically the same way as the games. So in this episode, we obviously have the scene where Tess gets bitten and she sacrifices herself. that whole thing is a little bit differently done. There are changes to that. We get clickers, which I'm just it's so nice. It's so good. I don't know. The CGI, there's obvious CGI in it, but there's definitely actual people. It's not like it's not a video game character. It's actually a person, obviously with some kind of makeup, and obviously with some kind of CGI on top of the makeup. But it works well together. It's just like it's just all of it is so good. I don't know. I know I'm just praising it, and I know there's probably issues that some other people will point out. I'm not here to point out issues. I'm just here to sort of talk about the things that are additional from the game, because there's a lot of similarities to the game, but there are also a lot of differences. One thing that changed was that Tess is, while she is still bitten, she's even bitten in the same place, which is cool, I guess. There's a lot of same dialogue as in the game, specifically with these things, but what is different is that there's a change that is introduced in the second episode where they talk about it, and I think it's a really cool addition actually, and they don't talk about this in the game. I don't remember even the second game talking about this. Uh, Basically, they say that the fungus basically can tell when you walk, a mile away from the infected. If you step over a fungus, or if you kill the infected here, and the fungus like notices it, I guess, it can alert like a horde of zombies somewhere else. So there's like a function that is not in the game, but in the show it is, and they kind of show that at the end of the episode, where Tess is like, "Oh, I'm infected," uh, they kill a zombie, and immediately the fungus like kind of you'll see that immediately we get like bunch of zombies noticing it, right? And so the difference between that scene in game and this is like now it's not people that are invading the what is museum. I think they're in a museum. They're not in like they're not getting in there. It's not people, it's zombies this time. And there's a thing that is also a change, and it is in the first episode too, but it's more relevant in here, is that they get this weird, like, I would say Resident Evil kind of a thing, where strange things come out of their mouths. I don't know if this is like some kind of thing that Neil Druckmann wanted in the game maybe, but it just didn't make room for it, or it's a call from somebody else. I'm not sure about that. I don't hate it necessarily. It's just kind of it's still a bit weird, because we get a scene at the end of the episode where Tess is infected and she can't light a lighter, which is the only way to apparently ignite gas, even though you could easily shoot the grenades. I mean, we know you have a gun unless you gave the gun to someone else, which I didn't. I don't remember the scene where she would give away her gun, and in the game she doesn't give away her gun. She tries to fight back the people. So I'm not sure about this detail, but basically I'm pretty sure you have a gun. So why don't you just shoot the grenades? Whatever. That's a tangent, but I'm just saying that's kind of weird. But so she can't light up the lighter, and one of the infected kind of comes close to her and opens his mouth, and these little weird thingies come out of his mouth, and they get like this weird kind of kiss in a way, I guess you wanna call it that, but he like kind of like puts the thing from his mouth to hers, and I was just thinking like, so you do that, right? Like I'm assuming that they did that because the zombies understand she's infected already. But if she's infected already, then why do this? It was really weird. Really weird logically speaking. I didn't really get it, right? But maybe I'm just not informed about the rules, because there's a lot of new things, additional things to this show that I'm not sure about. I don't get a lot of it sometimes, but that's fine. But this was kind of weird to me that we've introduced this whole new like sort of mechanic, I guess, where they can open their mouth and share the virus basically, and there's a horde of zombies running around Tess, and she's like terrified. She's like standing there, uh, and one of them walks slowly up to her, and I was like, oh, so they're gonna show that he doesn't care because she's infected already, but instead he walks up to her and gives her the virus, and I'm like, so okay, so what would you do with a healthy person? Would you just bite them? Because if they stood still, right, and didn't fight them, do they do this? I don't know. It was kind of weird, like strange thing to see. Maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But that is one change I wanted to bring up. Is this weird tentacle-looking? It looks more like a grass. Honestly, it looked like grass growing out of the mouth, and it's the way I understand it. The purpose of that is to share the virus with another host, which I don't know why would that be a thing when you can just bite them instead, but I guess it's like a visual thing, and I'm not here to judge it. So far, 2 episodes in, I don't know if I will be doing this for every episode. I don't think people care about me rambling about it. This is really for me. It's like not for anybody but me, to just kind of like here are some appreciative words about adaptation that is respecting the original, because that's a fucking unicorn these days. So I wanted just to bring up my appreciation for it. Yeah, so that's everything. I think I talked for long enough, for like almost 30 minutes now. Yeah, if you manage to take it, to get all the way to the end of the video, thank you for listening to me, and yeah, I will see you in the next one.